Yes, indeed. Welcome into another episode of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. That over there is Christopher Merez. I am at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. And yes, it is the first day of March Madness for college basketball here, but it's also the best time of the regular season. It's madness for the last month here in the NHL. So I'll take that version of March Madness and be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, March Madness sounds fun, but let's not get it twisted. Like hockey before basketball. Most sports before basketball, but specifically hockey above basketball. No offense if you love basketball. That's great.
Yeah.
It's just, man, I can't take that sport seriously when you're out like 3 weeks with like a bruised thumb, you know.
Oh, it's the time of the year. Everybody loves it. It's good stuff. But nonetheless, we're here to talk hockey. It's a hockey podcast, and we got a stretch run here. We're going to get to some Hart Trophy discussion today, some Pacific Division since we did the Atlantic and the Central last week. We're going to get to the 14-game Thursday night slate. Only 4 teams with the night off tonight. Everybody else in action. I know I've got some picks. He'll have some picks for you, too, later on. We do got some business to take care of first. Before that, we'll do, like I said, Hart Trophy Pacific. We'll check in with the fantasy hockey playoffs in the league we're in. But we got to get to news and notes first here. And without further ado, that's always quick hits. And let's get down to first things first here. It's the Ovometer is I got to see one on Saturday when I went. That was one of the last times the Capitals played. Coming up there, you see you got they got the Flyers at home tonight, and then a game against the Panthers and the Winnipeg Jets there. 8 to go. You see Gretzky looking up there with he's anxious with that flowing mullet there. Nonetheless, 8 to go there. Was cool to get the Ovechkin goal at the game. The San Jose Sharks have since been eliminated. They are the first team be out. No surprise there. But, here's this thing with Ovechkin, though. We're getting down to the wire here with him doing it before the end of the regular season. He's got, 14 games to go. 8 needs 8 goals. Like, part of me is like, I don't know if he's going to get there, but he's only one multi-goal game away from being on a good pace again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an impossible task for Ovi. If anybody's capable of scoring multiple goals in a game, I think it's him. Just, a couple power plays here and there. He's out there for 2 minutes anyways. You know exactly what you're getting with him. Just in his office, clapping bombs, terrorizing goalies. But yes, I was jealous that you got to see that goal live. It's you truly deserved it after having to watch San Jose put on what was just not a very good show. They're eliminated. That's not shocking to anybody. But you went for the other. You went to see Ovi. The Sharks were just there at the same time. That was that.
It was a Saturday afternoon matinee game. I went with my daughter. She had a blast. It was more about just spending the afternoon at the rink. There's nothing wrong with that. Once I realized Ovechkin had a shot maybe 2 months ago of maybe hitting the goal there, I'm like, all right, let me buy tickets. And if it does, it does. But I got to see one en route. So, that's nice. Got to see 887. We'll see if he adds to that tonight against the Flyers. We'll talk about that game later. A couple other news items to get to here. The Utah Hockey Club has filed to extend the trademark on the name Mammoth and Utah Hockey Club, but not the Outlaws. So it seems like we are very close to knowing the name of the rebranded NHL franchise. I just want to point out to both you and at Ant Rivera 86, our friend Anthony Rivera, that I got that one right. I called it. I said Mammoth, and that's it.
Should have been Blizzard, but we'll neither here nor there at that point. If they call this team hockey club, just Utah Hockey Club, we send them back to Arizona. Like I don't make the rules, but this isn't soccer. This isn't FC something. You know what I mean? This is hockey. Team names, pick one, just whichever one. So if you're gonna name it Mammoth, cool, fine. But under no circumstance should this team be Hockey Club. That's not. That's just not that. That's a no-go. That's a no-go.
It's like when the Washington football team was between, the old Redskin name and now the Commanders. And granted, Commanders stinks, but there were people who are like, oh, I kind of like Washington football team. I'm like, why? Like sometimes there's genius and simplicity, and then there's just it's basic. It's nothing. It's go football team. Like come on now. And it's the same thing with the hockey club. It's got to be named something like it. You're getting a little too cute if we're just going to go like, oh, we're going to just call it the hockey club. Okay, great. You have the worst name in the league.
They can find something. Just just again, pick something, just not hockey team. We can find better. We have the tools. So whether it's a fan vote, whether it's Ryan Smith decide, I don't care. We're just not calling this team hockey club.
Well, and the other thing too is I know the mammoth is not an elephant, but they're kind of the same family. You don't have a lot of elephant representation in sports. It's in the Athletics logo, which this year they're just the Athletics. They're not the Sacramento Athletics. They're just Athletics. Alabama with their logo with the Crimson Tide, they have an umbrella. They have an elephant too. So it's an underrepresented animal. It'll be cool to see that what the logo is when they release it, but probably still a little bit of a ways from that. On the ice now, Colorado defenseman Josh Manson expected to miss the next 3 to 4 weeks because of an upper body injury. He was injured in a 4-2 game against Calgary on Friday. He left late in the second period, sat out the Sunday game against the Stars. He's already missed some time with injuries this year. He missed a lower body injury with 7 games and then 12 games in December with an upper body injury. This is why you go out and get Ryan Lindgren if you're Colorado to add depth there. Seems like he's going to be back in time for the playoffs, so not ideal to be without, who's somebody that's been a second pairing defenseman and a reliable one, but when he plays, better now than a few weeks from now.
True. We're getting, players now. If you're in a playoff spot, it's kind of, I wouldn't say like locked in. Colorado's not going to win their division, so don't force guys who don't need to be in there. Take the time, be ready. Game 1 of the playoffs. That's all you're going for now. For teams that have that luxury, make sure it happens.
And they said 3 to 4 weeks. So if Colorado is in a situation that last week where, hey, the division is within their reach, or making sure they have that game 7 against Dallas in the first round to finish second as opposed to third, Manson can maybe get back in that lineup if they need him. So yeah, like you said, don't need to play him the next couple of weeks. Those guys that need that little bit of time, you could give them a game off here and there. Find your spots to do it and absolutely get your guys rested up, because that's especially in the Central Division, because that's just going to be a war the first couple of rounds. No word on what the All-Star format will be in 2026 when the Islanders and UBS Arena host the festivities. But Gary Bettman did say that he likes the current playoff format the way it is and doesn't feel a need to change it. So for those of us that prefer the 1-8 format, it ain't coming back anytime soon.
I despise Gary. I know he's not going anywhere, but there's no reason for some of the best teams to be playing each other in the first round. And I know some people that said, "Oh, in the East it doesn't it wouldn't have changed anything if you're in a 1-8 format." And I'm like, "Cool, show me the West." And ironically, they didn't, because it changes things. Just 1-8, the way we've always done. There's nothing wrong with that. Also, I could not care less about the All-Star game next year. After what we got to witness with the 4 nations, giving us anything at the All-Star game, again, no offense to the good people of, New York and Long Island, but that's just not it. It's just not it. I think that might be the lowest viewed spectacle next year. I'd probably want to watch San Jose and Buffalo play instead of having to watch the All-Star game.
Well, I think you just hit on it right there. It's like, how do you follow up the 4 nations face-off with next February's, break in the season? You can't go back to the format you had. You can't do the draft thing. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you go back to the old format, because 2028, they're going to be in the Olympics. They said they're going to bring the cup back in 27 or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember the exact timing, but they do need to figure out what to do next year. Again, it's no matter what they come up with, most people aren't going to be happy with it, because at this point, the All-Star game in pretty much every sport has lost the one value it did have. Now, when I was growing up, the All-Star game was a great way to see guys on other teams that you didn't get to see a lot. There wasn't back in the day, maybe national TV, all these packages available you could get every game. So my one chance to see Wayne Gretzky growing up in New York as a Ranger fan was the All-Star game. Before they had the NHL on Fox and all that, before a nationally televised package came along. So, but as games became more and more available to watch, and now you could get you could stream, you could get this package and all that. It's not the same. And with the way guys sit out and I'm not, and I understand you don't want to risk an injury in an All-Star game I don't know. They got to figure something out. Maybe you just go back to a classic East-West just to get you through the year, retro format.
Just cancel it. Like, is
Can't.
anybody
You
going to
committed to
cry?
it. You can't.
No, you can do it. Just cancel it. This is a money thing. They want to sell some jerseys. They want to sell some tickets. I don't know. Just
I will
cancel it.
say it's been a while since New York has had an All-Star game. I believe 94, the year the Rangers last won the Cup, was the last time the New York area hosted an All-Star game. I don't think Newark's ever gotten one. And before we get on to Pacific Division futures here, speaking of Gary Bettman, and I don't want to go down a political rabbit hole here, but I do feel bad for him in this sense because President Donald Trump and President Vladimir Putin had discussions to organize basically friendlies between the NHL and the KHL squads. Problem is, the NHL stated they had no involvement or prior awareness to this discussion and understandably offered no comment. I mean, I understand there's a lot of hate towards Gary Bettman, and he's not very popular, but man, to get blindsided with something like that, considering the tensions between the United States and Canada right now, and now you got the whole Russian thing, which they haven't been able to participate in any sort of international tournament since 2022. So, like, to get blindsided by that, like, hey, Mr. President, maybe give me a heads up, maybe get on the phone with me for 5 minutes. That would have been nice. That is one area where I do feel bad for Gary Bettman because he cannot navigate. There's no way he navigates this without upsetting somebody. And he didn't ask to be put in this position, nor does he want to be in this position. So I do feel for him a little bit.
I think that might be the only thing Gary and I have in common. We might not be big fans of Russia right now. Now, Gary might not be a fan. Gary might not be a fan of Russia for other reasons, political whatnot. I'm not a fan of Russia here, specifically SKA St. Petersburg and Roman Rottenberg and what he's doing to Ivan Demidov. If you know, you know. I'm just saying, I'm not a fan of his. That's why I'm not a fan of Russia right now. So, you know what I mean? But I mean, cool, I guess. I don't think they'll be able to organize a friendly for that, but nice of them to talk about things that may never happen.
Yeah, it's great to float it out there when you're not the people that have to pull it off logistically. Like, yeah, let's make this happen and not involve the people that actually have to make it happen. But yeah, that's one area where you feel for Gary. So, if he wants to deflect away from that when they start asking about that, be like, you know what? I'm not putting a team of Quebec. Just deflect to that. That's something you know how to handle. You already have your playbook on how to handle that in the press. Deflect to no Quebec. That'll get it right off the front pages because nothing pisses people off more like saying, yeah, we're probably not going back to Quebec.
That's true.
That's how you handle that.
That'll definitely deflate.
Over here.
We'll go back to hating him for what we usually hate him for. That's what it is.
I mean, that's how you handle that right there. Now, we're going to go, we talked about Atlantic and Central Division futures last week. Why don't we get to some Pacific Division futures here as we take a look at, the division is down to 3 teams at this point. You can kind of see the Sharks officially eliminated. Anaheim and Seattle may as well be eliminated at this point. I know Anaheim's been playing better lately. A little too late for those 2 teams, especially Seattle, who sold at the deadline. So we could talk about the division. The Vancouver, Calgary to make the playoffs is interesting there. And then to win the West, we can compare that to some of the Central odds from the win the West last week. Is this Vegas's division to lose at this point? Because I kind of think it is. Because when you look at their respective schedules down the stretch, and we'll talk about Edmonton in a minute, just trying to get the whole 2 points here, 1 point here kind of thing. They both get the same amount of points down the stretch. They both have similar schedules in terms of a mix of teams, your playoff teams, and teams you should roll over and beat. So I don't know if LA can really gain any ground there. And I'm not quite too sure why there's this much love on Edmonton for the division because they're just so inconsistent and streaky. I would think the Kings have a better chance than the Oilers at sneaking out the Pacific.
This to me feels like it's Vegas's division to lose. Yes, I mean I don't take the Kings seriously to get there. They kind of suffer the same problem as the Knights do. So LA really good on home ice. Once they leave, it's not the same. So, and Edmonton, you said it correctly. There's too much inconsistency with that team. There's not enough depth. There's too much inconsistency in the blue paint. When you're rolling out Calvin Pickard for some important games, you're going down the rabbit hole here a little bit. But it's Vegas would have to really fall apart. Would I be surprised if Edmonton wins the division? No, because that means Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl drag them into that position. But I feel like it is Vegas's to win. There's not that much great value there either if you're trying to take them to win the division. Like it still feels pretty risky.
I mean, maybe because Edmonton is actually okay on the road. They're above 500 on the road. Maybe that's part of the reason why they're given a chance to, win the division. And if you look at to win the West odds there, may as well talk about these three too, because I don't think we're going to be talking about Vancouver or Calgary to win the West at 35-1 or 90-1 respectively. So the Edmonton has the best odds to win the West there, which I guess they think, like you said, maybe McDavid and the odds-on favorite for the Hart right now, Leon Draisaitl, just order through the playoffs. But like you said, Skinner, Pickard, blue line, while they've added Wallman, I know they get Evander Kane back now, so maybe that plays into it there too. But yeah, for the division, I think Vegas is they've been a little bumpy lately, but I think they just have to win the games they're supposed to win down the stretch, and they'll take the division there. I feel like LA may nip at their heels a little bit and close the gap, because right now it's Vegas has 86 points with 67 games played. Edmonton 68 games played, but 2 points behind. The Kings 1 game behind Kings in games played, with 5 points behind them in the standings. So they're there. I think Vegas will feel enough of the heat that they can't take the foot off the gas the last week of the regular season. But I think they walk away with the Pacific.
Let me be abundantly clear here in case somebody's confused. Neither one of these teams are winning the West. Let's just understand this. First of all, having Edmonton as at plus 400 is comical at best, because of those three teams, they are the worst. Like, they have the best player, but they are the worst team out of all three of those teams. Also, thinking any of these teams can beat Winnipeg, Colorado, or Dallas in a 7-game series, no way. It's not going to happen. Doesn't matter.
But let's go back to the discussion, and this is a point I brought up last time on Total Hockey Now. Like, we know that Central is going to be a dogfight for the first 2 rounds. Vegas is going to probably have an easier path, especially, if, let's say LA Edmonton goes 7 games and they beat the crap out of each other, and Vegas takes care of Calgary, Vancouver, whoever it is in 5, they'll get the higher seed. So they'll probably play Minnesota. They'll get maybe a 6-game series out of them. See Kaprizov and all that. They're going to have an easier path than a Colorado, Dallas, Winnipeg, who's going to have to go through one of those in the second round. Yeah, now maybe they get a Calgary or a Vancouver in the first round, but they're going to have to play one of those in the second round. And maybe both if they, whoever survives that 2-3 goes on. You don't think Vegas has maybe a little bit of a more rested, easier path there where maybe they could take challenge for it, or it don't matter?
Even if they did, let's say that theory stays true. They don't suffer any major injuries, the path of least resistance. The minute they get to the conference final, it's going to be hard, because they have to go on the road and win games, and that's not something the Kings or the Vegas Golden Knights do very well. And just especially, I guess I'm going to look at. I'll focus on Dallas specifically. That team is stacked, and if you get Miro Heiskanen back, you're already that much better, right? Winnipeg, we know who they are. This is a really good team. Whether they get out of the first round is neither here nor there, but you know what I mean? It is what it is. And Colorado has gone out and they've revamped their lineup. They have more depth. If this team can be healthy, they're dangerous, right? But look at it there. You're telling me Edmonton is the second shortest odds to win the West? That's why? You look at that team and you go, yeah, that's probably the second best team coming. There's only so much Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl can do. There's only too much. That Central Division is unlike something we've seen in a very long time. There are 3 elite teams in that division. I wouldn't, the Oilers are not elite. The Kings are not elite. I would not put Vegas in that same conversation. They are a very good hockey team, but they don't scream elite to me at all. So
maybe if they're better on the road, because then you just have to steal 1 game on the road, and then you're a good home team, and it's tough to win there. I mean, again, for me, it's been Dallas even before all the big moves they made. That was the team I had coming out of the West, so there's no reason I'm going to stay on that. I still think we're looking at Vegas-Dallas conference final matchup is what I think we're headed. But Colorado's also, with the additions they made, they've looked really good. I know last night, they had a tough one against the Leafs, and then they got a tough one tonight against Ottawa. That's not an easy 2-game stretch right now to play those 2 back-to-back games on the road. But yeah, I mean, the other thing we'll take a look at here before we move on to the Hart Trophy, Looking at the make playoffs, yes, no there. So we're assuming Minnesota's got that top wild card spot locked up. They have an 8-point cushion. Vancouver has one game in hand over them right now, but Minnesota, still in play to make a run at that third spot or second spot, but probably not. So we locked them into that. So you basically got Vancouver and Calgary out of the Pacific competing for that wild card 2. Right now, the Canucks have 75 points and have it. The Blues also have 75 points, but Vancouver has a game in hand on them right now. Calgary at 73 points. They have a game in hand on Vancouver and 2 games in hand on St. Louis. And then Utah, 71 points, 68 games played there. So 4 points behind Vancouver for that second spot. Good chance for them against Buffalo to maybe make up some ground tonight. Give you a lean on that, pick on that one later. Anaheim are rolling out. Seattle, Nashville, they're all done. So knowing that, looking at Vancouver, Calgary, yes, no to make the playoffs here. Obviously the no's, you're not going to make much money there, but maybe a Calgary yes to make the playoffs at plus 300.
This is the race of what the Metro was last year, where nobody wanted to take that spot. Calgary has exceeded their expectations, I would say, due to the play of Dustin Wolf. He would it's unfortunate because Dustin Wolf is really good, and I think he could probably have a good conversation for why he should win Rookie of the Year if Calgary makes it to where they do, because Calgary just doesn't score goals. They can't. They are bad at putting the puck in the net, and yet somehow we're talking about them possibly being in a playoff spot. The Canucks are just not a very good team, and it's head scratching to see them in the position that they are. Thatcher Demko hasn't played in what feels like forever. All the stuff surrounding them, the injury to Quinn Hughes and whatnot, just the overall make of their team. It truly doesn't matter who makes it, because they're going to get slammed in the first round. That they are going to get walked on and abused. So I guess I would lean a little bit more Calgary just because of what Dustin Wolf can bring. You're going to have a lot of games where you're not going to be able to score, and that makes it just that much harder for a goalie, because he knows if he gives up 3, his team can't score 4. So he's got to be near perfect. He's got to go out there with the mentality that he can't give up more than 2 goals, or that's it for this team.
Yeah, you said he gives up 3 and it's over. I would feel like you give up 2 with Calgary and you're already starting to be on that. It might be overline, the way they can't score.
He's done his part, but I mean, I can't get behind the Canucks, man. This team's just not it.
It just shows you how, you made that comparison to the it was basically the Metro 3 and the Wild Card 2 last year. That's how pathetic it was that you had the Islanders and the Capitals in those positions. It's only one spot this year. Vancouver has had everything go wrong, and somehow they're still in that spot, which the West would be. I would really like to see what the West playoffs would look like with a Vancouver team that's playing closer to what they were last year, because now you really have got a really tough 1 through 4 Pacific division where anybody can beat anybody. I still think that last spot's going to go to St. Louis. They've looked better lately. Out of the Canucks, Blues, Flames, Utah, they're the only team that's kind of got enough skill to be a playoff team. Like you said, they're not going to beat Winnipeg, Colorado, Dallas in the first round. I think St. Louis can maybe steal a game, maybe 2 from one of them, because just the way they play and they're familiar with them. If I'm one of those teams at the top, if I'm any of those 3 central teams that are competing for the top of the division, I would much rather see a Vancouver or Calgary or Utah than I would rather see a St. Louis. You're muted.
That's fair. Yes. I would much rather see any of those teams but again, even if I had to face Calgary, which I feel is the best of the game, I still would not worry, because they can't score. So it doesn't matter.
Now, we talked about Edmonton having being maybe a little too heavily favored here for where they stack in both the division and the West. Part of the reason for that is Leon Draisaitl there. He is the odds-on favorite for the Hart Trophy right now at minus 225. Connor Hellebuck, number 2, at plus 175. Then you see up at the top, Nate McKinnon, 10-1. Nikita Kucherov, 75-1. McDavid was 100-1. You don't see that often, but it's, Leon Draisaitl's year at this point. Looking at the Hart Trophy futures here, do you think, is it Leon's to lose at this point, or is Hellebuck having one of those goaltender seasons that is capable of taking the Hart Trophy from him? I certainly think he is. I think if, Winnipeg maintains their spot at the top of the Central Division and don't relinquish it to either Dallas or Colorado, and Hellebuck continues to play the way he has, I almost think he needs to get it over Draisaitl.
What Connor Hellebuck is doing is historical, right? Like he is on an absolute tear. Like his numbers are comparable to when Carey Price won the Hart, and by default, like he's going to win the Vezina. Nobody's taking that from him.
Board. You can't even get Vezina odds right
as
now.
It should be. But like Connor Hellebuck is right there, and the numbers that he is putting up, like his goals against average is flirting around 2. His save percentage is what today is almost at 925. Like these are elite numbers in an NHL game, like that is now maybe not the highest scoring it's ever been, of course, but there's still more goals than it was before the lockout. So these numbers are on a whole different level. And I know the Winnipeg Jets are a good team, but I don't think they're as good if you take Connor Hellebuck out of it. Like I get the Oilers are not good without Leon Draisaitl, and he does so many things, right? He's not just a guy who sets everybody up. He's also leading the league in goals. So he's doing everything that you want him to do. But in terms of most valuable player to his team, I'm not saying that without Leon that the Oilers are still the same team. They would definitely struggle. But I think if you remove the player from the equation, the removal of Connor Hellebuck would be more problematic. So that's how I see it. And I just think the position that he plays as well and how good he has been, like it's really hard to take away. All of his advanced stats and his advanced metrics are just like they're elite. They're not just good, they're elite. There's not a single category where you're like, oh, maybe here. No, they're all good. So it's tough. I think there's still some value there on Connor Hellebuck, just because, again, I think as we get closer to it, it's a shame for Nathan, like, not taking anything away from him. He's having another one of those seasons. Nikita Kucherov just gets forgotten. It's amazing how you can be so good and yet be forgotten. But it's right there for Connor Hellebuck. I do think Draisaitl's getting a little bit too much love. It probably goes to a forward. And do I want to see it go to Leon Draisaitl? Yes. Because then that means that Carey Price is still the last goalie to have ever won the Hart and the Vezina. And oh, by the way, before him was Jose Theodore. So the last two goalies with the Hart and the Vezina are both Montreal Canadian alumni. So, but I think Connor deserves a conversation.
Do you think maybe Leon, the part of the reason he's getting maybe a little too much love is the fact that, hey, if there's a year where McDavid, you're going to give it to a guy. We always say Draisaitl's the second best player on the planet. Second best players on the planet deserve a few Hart trophies too here and there. Maybe this is a chance for Leon to get a Hart in a year where his teammate's not going to take it from him. But I do agree, you don't get goalie seasons that are Hart-worthy that often. And Hellebuck comes close almost every year. And this year, he's definitely played himself into that. And again, I think if Winnipeg maintains that top spot in the West, I understand, goals are sexy. Offense is sexy. Leon Draisaitl is an absolutely deserving player of it. But like you said, if you're going to use that litmus test of take one of these guys away and who's going to have the bigger impact or who's going to feel the loss the more, a bigger loss, it's Winnipeg, without a doubt.
And it's still very, like, I can't name Leon Draisaitl's wingers on most nights. He's been playing with Vasily Podkolzin. He's been playing with Victor Arvidsson. He's been playing with Jeff Skinner. Those guys have been miserable. They have been terrible. And he's still out there. Not that Zach Hyman's been any better or that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins lighting it up. Like, I get it. But Leon Draisaitl has been dragging anchors with him. And I mean, at the same time, Edmonton's power play hasn't been as lethal as it been in previous years, and he's still scoring goals. So, I get the conversation around it, and I understand why he has the right to command it and win it. I wouldn't say it's like somebody got robbed here if it wasn't either one of those two. There would be fair arguments on both sides, and you'd probably go, yeah, that makes sense. So I'm just glad I don't have to pick between these two.
Now, he won it back in 2019-20, so this would be his second if he gets it, which, I mean, he's a guy that's capable, deserves being a multi-time Hart Trophy winner. Do we see McKinnon maybe making a surge here down the stretch? I mean, I know Colorado is strengthened down the middle. Maybe they use that time to roll those lines more and maybe take a little bit, save, McKinnon more for the playoffs, but 10-1 for Nate McKinnon at this point to maybe steal a Hart Trophy. I mean, again, I know Draisaitl's right now, he's sitting at 49 goals, 52 assists here with about a dozen games to go. So, but again, McKinnon also, I mean, you take him off the Avalanche, he's also kind of fits into that, take him off the team and where are they kind of thing. McKinnon right now sits with 27 goals, 77 assists, so point total similar, but obviously Draisaitl lighting the lamp almost at twice, double the rate that Nate is.
Yeah, if you remove him from the Colorado Avalanche are a terrible team. Like they fall apart instantly. This is not like Nate is the straw that stirs the drink here. There's no question about it. He's lost his best winger in Mikko Rantanen, and he still hasn't slowed down. And he's still going out there. He leads the league in points. You know what I mean? So it's wild to see that he leads the league and he's at a 10-1 odd, because that's way back there. You know what I mean? Like that's like, you're not close. But I guess for me, the one knock on McKinnon would be is that his splits home versus away are very, very drastic. And that's for most of the Colorado Avalanche as well. Like he's not the only problem there. When Colorado goes on the road, they forget how to play hockey. And maybe that's because the depth hasn't been there for most of the year. Maybe teams are still trying to match him hard. I get all that, but that conversation doesn't exist with Leon Draisaitl. His splits home and away, just as good. He's dominant. Same thing with Connor Hellebuyck. Home or away, doesn't matter. He's the best player no matter what. So that's maybe the small knock I'd give on McKinnon this year. And again, through no fault of his own. He's got the benefit of playing at home. His coach gets the last change. Altitude definitely plays a role when your lungs are starting to burn. So that's, I guess, to me, is the factor that kind of separates Hellebuyck and Draisaitl from McKinnon. That's the gap there for me. If you're talking about complete players, Hellebuyck and Draisaitl are, in the terms of how they can produce, where they can produce. And again, if you take Nathan McKinnon away from the Colorado Avalanche, they fall apart. They're probably the team that falls apart the most out of the Jets and the Oilers, right? So it's tough. It's just not, this isn't the year for McKinnon.
The one thing I will say too, and I said, if Winnipeg finishes top in the West, you got to give it to them. But I think one thing that can hurt Hellebuyck is if they just maintain the cushion they have and they get into that last week or two, where, not to say games don't matter, but all of a sudden those points don't necessarily matter as much. Yeah, you want to play your guy and keep him in a rhythm, keep him in a routine like Hellebuyck, but you might also look to give him an extra game or two off, and maybe that hurts him a little bit. I mean, his numbers are so damn good. I don't think, a couple of games he might have started had Winnipeg needed the games versus, well, now we're going to rest him because, we're locked into the top spot. I don't know if that really hurts him, but it is something to keep in the back of your mind. Because when you look at the West right now, Winnipeg currently sitting with 98 points. They've got a 9-point lead over Dallas. Dallas does have 2 games in hand, and they do have a 12-point lead over the Pacific Division leading Vegas Golden Knights. So they got to hit that sweet spot of like competitive down the stretch. Dallas, Colorado nipping at their heels, where Hellebuyck still has to play, but they can still keep the division. So see what happens here. But I mean, yeah, just to go over some other awards. We talked. You gave a great breakdown on the Calder last week. Norris is basically Makar's to lose at this point. Vezina off the board. Who's taking it from Hellebuyck right now? Like, please make an argument for somebody else right now. It's not going to happen. So there you go.
Again, I'm giving it to McDavid. Sorry, not McDavid, Draisaitl, because I just don't want him to take it from my boy.
I know. You have selfish rooting there. You want Carey Price.
Which is probably why I don't vote. Right? There's a lot of reasons why I don't get a vote as to who wins any awards. Not that I deserve one, but if I did, it would be a lot harder.
Spite is a hell of a motivator, but listen, we're about halfway in here, a little more than halfway in. We got a 14-game NHL slate to get to, so we don't want to waste any other time here. And I know between the two of us, we've got at least picks for about 9 or 10 of these of the 14. So let's not waste any time here. We got the Flames at the Devils. Flames 150 on the money line. Devils minus 168. Total is 5.5 there. Starters for tonight: Dustin Wolf, Jacob Markstrom. So we got a pretty good goaltending matchup here. Look, if you want to, I don't know if anybody's really looking at a puck line bet here, but looking at this game, I lean the under because of the goaltending matchup and the way they're playing. Calgary just gave up a bunch of Toronto. They're probably going to be looking to buckle down in their road end. New Jersey too. Again, Calgary can't score a bunch, so I got to lean. The under was at minus 130 when I looked. So that's my lean, not an official play on this one.
Yeah, that's probably where I would go too. It's still pretty juice for an under being at 5.5, but that again, the Flames can't score, so it doesn't really matter. Maybe you can entertain the Devils in regulation, but I still think that game's kind of close. So it's the same. It would probably be a lean, and that even that is kind of stretching it.
And if you wanted to look at the Devils on the puck line, plus 155 to cover a puck and a half, if you think they can maybe get a 3-1 victory or something like that. So not much there. Here's another one that I don't really have. I don't have a. There's only a handful of games that I didn't really have a total, a lean, a regulation, anything like that. This is one of them. Toronto's coming off a back-to-back here, beating Colorado last night. Rangers did not look great against Calgary the other night. Shesterkin looked good. It's a stay away spot for me. I don't get why the Rangers are home favorites here. Toronto. This is just a stay away spot. I can't touch either of these teams.
It's quite tough. I would have preferred that Joseph Woll start tonight. He played really well against Colorado, but I feel like it is what it is kind of thing. I can't get a read on whether it's going to go over or under. That's kind of the problem. I wouldn't play any of the lines. I feel like this game is going to be close no matter what. But like on paper, you would think Igor versus Stolarz would be very, very good matchup. Both goalies are, above average. You should, right? The under should be in play. And then you also realize, Toronto's on a back-to-back. They could probably get lit up. Igor could get lit up on any given night, depending on how the Rangers play. So I'm kind of with you here. I just going to stay away, live my best life. There's other games that we can put our money on. We don't have to go crazy for this one.
You're looking at the over at 5.5. It's minus 120. The under is plus 100. But again, this is not one I'm looking to play here. One that I do want to play tonight, we're looking at the Columbus Blue Jackets on the money line here. Got a trap at plus 165. It's going to be Bobrovsky versus Merzlikins tonight. For me, potential trap game here for the Panthers with the Capitals up next on the schedule. Columbus, as we've talked about multiple times here on Total Hockey Now, much better home team than road team. Desperation's got to be setting in with Columbus right now. Ottawa is slowly pulling away for one of those wild card spots. Montreal's heating up. Florida's lost 3 or 4. If you're going to take a chance with Columbus, if they're going to try and get their season going, if Florida coming into your building doesn't get you going, I don't know if anything will.
I would agree with you, Tech, that I want Columbus should be a better team on home ice, and they have been for most of the year. In their last couple of games, though, they have been horrendous. Yes. They can't score at home, and that's concerning because they don't score on the road either. So, kind of figure it out. From a selfish standpoint, I need the Panthers to win tonight. I need them to do it in regulation. That would be great. Tonight, I'm a Panthers fan as well. So I need Florida to do their job. That being said, I'm not swallowing 185 because that is just way too much. That's too much love for the Panthers here. They haven't been playing good enough. They lost to the Canadiens. They didn't look very good. They lost to the Islanders, which is tough here. This is game 5 of their road trip. Starting to run out of gas. They played a lot of hockey in the last 7 days. If anything, there's probably a tickle for the over. At worst, you get a push kind of thing, and they're like, no harm, no foul. But there's not enough here that I like to go either way. Just too many red flags on both sides.
Florida, if you think they can cover a puck and a half on the road, is plus 140. I do want to point out that you're at that fun point of the rooting season where now you're scoreboard watching, and now you're like, well, Columbus needs to lose tonight, and you're all of a sudden tonight a big Colorado fan with going against Ottawa. So it's fun to track which teams you're rooting for here as we move along. So I got the money line there, plus 165. Speaking of Avalanche Senators, Colorado slight road favorite at minus 116. Ottawa plus 104. The total is 6 there. Looking at the start and goaltending matchup that's anticipated tonight, it's going to be Linus Ullmark, and we assume Scott Wedgwood since Blackwood went last night. For me, this could be a spot here to take a home dog with Ottawa, catching Colorado on a back-to-back. They're coming off a game they'd like to have back with the loss to Montreal the other night. They're going with Olmark. They're getting the goaltending advantage there. No Manson makes the Avalanche blue line a tad thinner. It's a bounce-back spot here. I know Colorado's a real strong team, but Ottawa also, listen, you got to get points, got to take advantage of teams, maybe, on a back-to-back. Here's a chance, maybe a half a unit on the Senators.
Again, I'm a Colorado fan tonight. We need the Sens lose regulation, so that's where it is. If I wasn't biased, I would probably lean the same way as well with the Senators, just because again, at Colorado on the road, this is a back-to-back. Linus Ullmark is good. Whether he gets the support from his team though is another question. But I would also entertain the under here. I know that again, Colorado is not the same team on the road. I don't think they come out and they smash Linus Ullmark. Like he's been good enough this season to help hold that. And I also don't think the Sens are going to come out and score a ton of goals because they're averaging less than 3 per game this season. So this isn't a heavy offense for the Sens. They're not relentless. They're not going out there. They've played a couple of games now where they just, didn't really look good. I would probably lean on the under here. That's where I feel like there's some good money to be made. Trusting the Sens, you can, but I like the value on the under here. I just feel like some people think it's going to be a barn burner. The last time they met, they totaled for 9 combined. That was in Colorado, though. I don't think we see the same thing here.
Also, a different Senators team at that point in the season. We got a lot of games, puck drops that are 7 or 7:30 tonight. Let's head up to the nation's capital. Alexander Ovechkin, by the way, he is at 887. We mentioned earlier versus Philadelphia tonight. He is going for 887. He will do it against Samuel Ersson. Charlie Lindgren going for the Capitals. Washington minus 240 home favorites. Flyers plus 212 on the road. If you wanted to take a look at the Capitals on the puck line, looking there, it's plus 108 to cover a puck and a half. I lean over 5.5 here. I have this kind of has like 5-2 written all over it, where the Capitals win, no problem. Philly gets a goal or two, but I feel like there's a chance for Washington to maybe keep the good times rolling here. I like I'd lean over 5.5. I would even consider the puck line, but something you never know when the Flyers get a little scrappy and a little plucky. But I'd like the over in this one.
I don't know how the over is going to hit if the Flyers don't score goals. They have scored 0 goals in their last 2 games. So that for me, you can't trust the Flyers to start with. I do think it's interesting, though, that the money line is sitting at 240, but you can get plus money on the puck line. That is a massive gap. And I mean, the Capitals have covered the puck line in their last 4 wins. So they can score goals. And the Flyers can most certainly give them up. They're not out there playing elite defensive hockey. So I would probably take the Capitals puck line. There's just I feel like at that number, the puck line should probably be you shouldn't be getting plus money. I feel like that should be close. Like you should be at least, I don't know, maybe 105 somewhere there. So to be getting plus money on it, I feel like that's value. Again, Flyers may not score a goal tonight. They've showed us they can't. I mean, they didn't score a goal against Carolina. They didn't score a goal against Tampa Bay.
Those are two tough teams to score against, to be fair. And
yes.
Washington's done easier, but
yes, I would have liked if it was not Charlie Lindgren, but you know what I mean? Beggars can't be choosers sometimes. We don't, it is what it is. But I would take the puck line.
Now, speaking of scoreboard watching, he's got his own game to watch tonight with the Montreal Canadiens at the aforementioned UBS Arena to take on the Islanders. Islanders minus 140 home favorites, total 6. Canadians plus 126 on the money line. Looking at the start and goaltending matchup here. And this one, Samuel Montembeault against Ilya Sorokin. So the top 2 guys tending to the twine tonight. I'll let Chris take the breakdown away. This is your game. I like the Canadians on the money line. So is there a reason you should talk me out of this, or am I okay here?
No, not at all. I also like the under here. I don't know where we're getting. I don't know where we're getting 6 goals. Not with the way Sam Montembeault has been playing. The Montreal Canadiens have been one of the best teams since the 4 Nations break. So it is quite something to have the Islanders be minus 140 here, favorites. That is most certainly a choice. But I am with you. I think there's more than enough value here on the Montreal Canadiens to win. I would also maybe entertain the idea of them winning in regulation. I feel like though this game's going to be a store fest. Like it's going to be tight, and that usually means there might be a little bit of overtime. I get that the Islanders have won a couple of games recently. They did beat Florida, very nice. They also beat the Pittsburgh Penguins. Most teams beat them, so I think there's enough value here for the Montreal Canadiens in regulation. Again, I also would probably take the under because I just don't see this filling. I just don't see this filling up. Montreal's played a lot better of late. They're getting contributions from guys that we thought couldn't, right? Josh Anderson scoring goals here. Christian Dvorak looks good again. That's a vibe. Gallagher's playing well. So there's a lot of depth here for the Montreal Canadiens. And I do say the under because it feels like the safer one. Here's the only thing that could absolutely just send this to the graveyard. The Islanders are terrible on the power play, and their penalty kill is a mess. So if they start taking penalties and they let Patrick Laine wind up from his office, it's going in. It doesn't matter. It's going to go in. So that's probably where this gets lost, is if the Islanders go out there and start taking penalties. So I need the Islanders to be disciplined, but lose. So like 4-1 would be great. Even if you get a push, it's fine. It is what it is. But I'm with you here. Montreal's money line. There's too much love here for the Islanders.
And you mentioned the Islanders win against the Panthers. They had to storm back and rally in they were trailing 2-0 heading into the third period. So they had one really good period against Florida. Maybe they came apart a little bit there. So I'm not reading too much into that 2-game winning streak there. So I got the Canadiens on the money line. So does Chris, and the under in that one. This one, you don't see too many 5 totals in this. It's 5.5 at some books, but it's definitely 5 right now at others. The Blues hosting the Vancouver Canucks -137 home favorites. Canucks +123 on the road. You're looking at a puck line bet here for St. Louis. If you think they could win by 2, it's +190. For this one, I would, I don't really have anything on this one. This was one of my more stay away spots. Maybe you take the over just because it's 5, but I don't really have anything on this one.
I could care less about this game. I just don't. I'm not. Under 5 seems like a lot, considering both like these teams in their 2 previous matchups this year, they've gone over. So I get it. The Canucks are actually not that bad on the road. So it is what it is. They've scored some goals in their last couple of games. So they did score. They scored 6 against Chicago. Most teams do. They scored 6 against the Jets. Yeah. Okay. And St. Louis, again, they beat up on the Ducks. Most teams do. They had a pretty good game in Nashville, so they're on a little bit of a heater here. I am of the same idea of you. Probably like the 5 is a low total. 5 is low. I think
there's a lot of those.
Right, and these teams are they're too bad to be this. For this total to be this low. I don't think their offenses are really great, but I don't think defensively in a net they're really good either. So probably the over here just because the money sounds good, but I'm not going with the under here. I also just don't want to watch this game.
This is going to be, listen, these are 2 teams that were battling for that last playoff spot in the West. So maybe that's why they think they're going to get a really slow down, muck it out, grind it out, kind of 2-1 game. If you want to go to 5.5, that's where you can get some plus money there if you think they're going to get to 6. But the over 5 right now, -140. So it's already probably, it's a little too much juice. But if you think they get to 6, now you get back to some plus money there. Moving on, Lightning Stars, one of the games of the night. Dallas -111 home favorites to Tampa Bay -101 on the road. Total 106. Looking at the starting goaltending matchup for tonight, you got a Vasilevsky, Casey DeSmith matchup here. So Casey DeSmith getting the nod and not Jake Ottinger tonight. Looking at this one for me, I think, this is more of a gut eyeball kind of thing here, but you look at these 2 teams, this is very much an under 6 to me. I think, you get a push worst case. Casey DeSmith hasn't allowed more than 3 goals since January 18th. Like I said, more of a gut feeling pick here, but I this one I think can stay under. I think you're looking at a 3-2 kind of final.
I hate having to trust Casey DeSmith, but he's proven that he can play in this system, and the Stars are good enough defensively. Tampa Bay is not very good on the road. They're a 500 team. They don't really, they don't really excite me. They only beat Philadelphia 2-0, and then they beat up on the Bruins. So, but before that, they had lost to the Flyers, they'd lost to Carolina, they lost to Boston. So, like, I don't know what I'm gearing up for here. But I do know that Dallas is 25-7-1 at home. So again, I have to trust Casey DeSmith. And to his credit, he's been good. His save percentage is better than Jake Ottinger. It's just that Jake Ottinger at home is money. So I would have liked that to be the case. I don't know why we're not being gifted Jake Ottinger versus Andrei Vasilevsky. I don't know why we're taking that away from us on a 14 gamer, but there's enough value there on Dallas. I think minus 111 is still like that's pretty low. I feel like that number should be higher. There should be a bigger gap between these two teams. There isn't. So I'll take advantage of it. I'll take the Stars.
All right. Chris got the Stars. I've got the under here in this one. 6 games to go before we say farewell on this edition of Total Hockey Now. Don't forget to give us a follow, like, subscribe, rate, all that good stuff. Ducks Predators here in Nashville, total 6. Nashville, a minus 163 home favorite to the Anaheim Ducks, who've actually been playing halfway decent hockey lately, plus 146 there. If you're looking at a puck line bet here, if you think either team is capable of covering a puck line, Nashville minus a puck and a half is plus 155. I'm going the other way here. I'm going to go with the over on this at 6. I know Nashville can't score lately. Anaheim has been playing better. Opposite rule in effect for me. This game went over when they met a week ago. So this time it's also time to go, it went under a week ago. So this time it's time to go over. You also got to look at the goaltending matchup. You got a rusty John Gibson going against a Justice Noonan. So just with that goaltending matchup alone, both of these teams are out of the playoffs. I don't anticipate a lot of defense being played. So I think maybe you get a little bit more of an up and down game. I think this can clear 6.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Laying 163 on the Predators at home is definitely a way to live life, and you can't trust the Ducks on the road. We don't do that. But I am of the belief that this game could become an absolute just back and forth event of no defense and no care. The Predators are a better team on home ice. They are miserable on the road, so it's not hard to beat, but they are better. But Philip Forsberg as well, his splits, he is like just beyond elite when he's on home ice. He fires the puck a lot. He drives the play. He racks up points. So again, probably a back and forth affair here. I'm hoping it's 3-3 going into overtime. You know what I mean? That would be great. If the Ducks could score 3 goals on the road, I would be greatly just surprised. And then I need the Predators to do their job, which is,
they can't score lately, but if they're going to, John Gibson can cure what ails you in that department when you're going against him.
Listen, I know it's been tough for Nashville here because they lost 2-1 to these Anaheim Ducks less than a week ago in Anaheim, though, so that doesn't count. They also lost 1-0 to the Kings in OT. Again, that was on the road. They've played better, but the Kings on home ice, and Darcy Kemper at home, we don't solve it. They lost to the Blues on home ice. Bad teams are bad, but I like the over here. I don't think the Ducks have it.
We have not agreed a lot today. We do agree on that one. That's one we both like there. Now, if you got in a time machine, Kings Blackhawks in March would be like must-see hockey. Don't go out. Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane versus Kopitar and Doughty. Quick versus Corey Crawford. Well, one of these teams is playoff battle, and the other one not so much. Kings minus 265 road favorites against the Blackhawks. Their total 5.5. Looking at Kings puck line minus to cover a puck and a half plus 100. They're going to roll Darcy Kemper tonight. Chicago's going to Arvid Soderblom. They haven't covered a puck line since a 3-2 overtime loss to Nashville. They've lost 5 in a row. To me, this is one of my more favorite plays here. I think the Kings can cover the puck line easily.
The Blackhawks money line, by the way, plus 220. Nobody's taking minus 113 there. I know we all see it. It's fine. We'll let it live. But I would have felt a lot better if this was Spencer Knight, and it's not. So now I have to put my faith in Arvid Soderblom at home. Here's what I will say about the Kings. There is no question that they are a not as dominant team on the road. Their record is actually below 500. And honestly, unacceptable. Now, Chicago has beaten them twice this year. Okay. Chicago's beaten them twice. They did that once at home, 5-1 in a very convincing fashion. And they beat the Kings. The Kings have lost a couple of games on home ice, and one of them has come. The Kings have lost 3 games in regulation on home ice. One of those was to the Blackhawks. So, listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist here, but like plus 233. I mean, I'll take a little bit of it. I will, just because the Kings are so bad on the road. And I get it's the Blackhawks, and I get it's Arvid Soderblom, and I wish it wasn't him. I really do. I don't know why we're rolling out Arvid Soderblom here. You went to go get Spencer Knight. Let him play. Let him play. But anyways, that's just, you know what I mean? That's just me. So I would also look at, because again, this is quite the gap here. If you think this game is close, Chicago plus 1.5. It's minus 125, which is fair. A little bit more than I like it to be. But that's where I would go. That's where I'm going to hold my ground on. So Chicago cover the puck line, and I would sprinkle a little bit for them to win and regulate to win flat out. Because if they get that game to overtime, you've secured one, and then just hope the other one pays. But I'm not sold on the Kings here. If you're laying 265 on the Kings on the road, get yourself checked.
This is a puck line. I mean, even regulation is not. When I looked, it was 2 juice. This is a puck line up, basically even money or bust. I do think LA can, as bad as they are on the road, they do got to win here and there, and this is a spot to get it done. And plus, with the way Chicago has owned them this year, I think at some point you got to be like, hey, these guys can't beat us again. Like, look at them. Now we go to the Utah Hockey Club taking on the Buffalo Sabres at home. Utah minus 171 home favorite, Buffalo plus 153, a total of 6 there. Listen, I know the Sabres have won 2 in a row, but are we really thinking that believe it or not, they've had 5 winning streaks of 3 or more games this year? I don't know if they're going to do it 6 times, so I'm going to say no. It's one thing to go into Boston and beat a downward spiraling team that's also a rival that you like to stick it to. It's another thing to go on the road and beat a team that finds themselves in the playoff hunt right now. 4 points back of that wild card 2 spot. Utah also coming off a really embarrassing loss to Edmonton, so a good bounce back spot here and a gotta have 2-point situation. And they've got a tough schedule coming up with Tampa Bay, Detroit, Tampa Bay, and Florida. So I think they get it done in 60 minutes tonight. I'm going to take them there at minus 115 in regulation.
I'm going to take, I'm on the same wavelength as you here. Utah in regulation. Let's not pretend that the Buffalo Sabres are any good. They are probably without Josh Norris because, surprise, surprise, he is hurt. Zach Benson does not look like he's going to play. Yuri Kulich looks like he is out of the lineup. JJ Peterka will be in. This team down the middle, like the Sabres are terrible. This team, this city, not good. So, not that I think that Utah is that much better, but they're average at home, and I think they can. I think they can win. I think they can beat the Sabres. Taking them in regulation feels a little bit like it's tough because the Sabres, by miracle, have taken the Vegas Golden Knights and Boston to overtime and have successfully won. But that they beat Vegas on home ice, and Vegas on the road is not very good. So, kind of feels like you can't trust the Sabres, right? Let's not forget that. Can't trust the Sabres. So I guess Utah, and who knows how many goals are going to be scored in this game. Like if it finishes 7-6, not surprised. If it finishes 1-0, also not surprised.
Karel Vejmelka is going to go, and it looks like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen for Buffalo, but that has not been confirmed yet. Yeah, we are in the same wavelength there. Utah gets it done in regulation, minus 115. This next one, Jets at Oilers. It's going to be Hellebuck versus Skinner. I've got no play or lean on this one. Total's 5.5. Maybe you want to go under would be if I did have a lean, but I'm not touching this one.
Leon Draisaitl is doubtful to play. So whatever that means is whatever that means. If he doesn't play and you can get the Jets at plus money, we fire away. I feel like you got to take a risk at some point. And This could be one of it. I also would probably lean on the over here. I'm not saying the Jets are the ones that are going to give up a bunch of goals, but if Draisaitl plays, you know, the over is what it is. If anything, the Oilers alone will give up 5 goals. So, but I don't think Draisaitl plays. There's no real risk in wanting to, like, this is an important game. Even if he does play, maybe he's not at 100%. It doesn't sound like he's dealing with an injury. It just sounds like, not feeling 100%. So again, if you can get the Jets at plus money, you're going to have to take a shot in the dark here. The wording for me is important. He is doubtful. He's not questionable. He's day to day, but it's unlikely that he plays. So again, do what you wish with that information, but that's where I'm going for it. He was not skating today. No.
Draisaitl doesn't play in Winnipeg plus money, then yeah, that's definitely a way to go. Winnipeg lost 6-2 to Vancouver the other night, maybe looking to bounce back. Edmonton's won 3 in a row, but maybe, they've beaten the Rangers, the Islanders, and Utah, so maybe they're coming in, maybe being a little too fat on some weak opponents, and now they're facing, the best team in the league. So maybe a reason to go Winnipeg there and lean there. 2 games to go here on Total Hockey Now before we say farewell. Bruins are at the Golden Knights tonight. I do have a play on both of these remaining games. I'll take the Vegas Golden Knights on the puck line, minus a puck and a half, minus 110. The Bruins are, they had their 2 games after the deadline where they're like, we're not happy about Marchand being traded. They go and they beat the Lightning. They go and they beat the Panthers. Things are getting back to normal in Boston, as normal as, what's been normal for them this year, we'll say. It was Golden Knights back home, like you said before, a much, much better team on home ice than a road team. The 4-game road trip was pretty forgettable. They lose 4 or 5, but they still manage to get points in 3 of those. So even when things aren't going well, they still manage a way to just get something out of it. I think home cooking gets Vegas going again. Bruins have dropped 3 straight. This is the first game of a 5-game road trip, so there might be some adjustment there. I think you pounce on this.
Yeah, Bruins have given up 15 goals in the last 3 games. Nope. Don't want a piece of that. Like we said, Vegas, really, really good on home ice. They're coming back home. They did not look good against Detroit, man. You could tell. Even Bruce Cassidy was like, this team is gassed. And that is fair. He was very gassed. That team just looked like they had no legs. They weren't moving. Just nothing good coming from them. So I'm on the same path here. You take the Golden Knights puck line. It is what it is, right? You can't take them at minus 287, like in regulation, even at that, but it's still too much squeeze there. Take the puck line. It is what it is, and we can hope maybe for an empty net goal.
And yeah, I mean, talk about them looking gassed. That was the end of a 3 and 4 night stretch for them on the road at the end of a 4-game road trip, like we said. They get the Bruins at home tonight. This is a good, bounce back spot. And then they get the Red Wings at home again here. So they get a chance to maybe give a little payback and maybe show them what they should have done the first time around. So something to consider on Saturday. But yeah, Vegas Golden Knights a way to go here. And last but not least, we got the Hurricanes and the Sharks. Brent Burns making one of his, probably his 3rd return to the Bay Area. Georgi Romanov is going to be making his first NHL start tonight after seeing some action and relief on Saturday against the Capitals. Alexander Georgiev was yanked after the first period, giving up 3 goals, and they let Romanov finish it off. Only gives up 2 the rest of the way. San Jose does not fare well against a lot of teams, but they especially don't fare well against bigger physical teams like we saw at the Capitals. Carolina fits that bill, and they've kept things under 6 in their last 8. And the 2 they didn't, they pushed at 6. So sometimes when you see a goalie for the first time, you don't get a chance to put a ton past them. I think that works in favor of the under here. I think Carolina wins, but I think you're looking at like a 3-1, 4-1 kind of night. I'm going to go with the under. And if you wanted to entertain the puck line, even that's probably getting a little too juiced here. I'm seeing it at minus 135, minus 130 in some spots.
I'll probably fall asleep to this game. This is the one I doze off to. I'll watch a couple of YouTube videos, a couple of the late night shows, and then I'll fall asleep to whatever's going on here.
You watch Jets Oilers, and then after that, whichever of the 2 Vegas and San Jose games are more competitive, that's what you're going to throw on and go to sleep to. Not a bad plan.
Look, if the Hurricane Sharks game is more competitive than the Vegas Boston one, we're going to have a problem. So that's
See.
all I'm saying, Vegas. Figure it out.
I mean, the Sharks have very much have gone into, end of season mode. They're not going to bring up Askarov to this team right now. That's why Romanoff is getting a start here. San Jose, the only team in the league eliminated right now. Been a lot more losses than wins lately. Other than that, they had a 2-game winning streak at Toronto and Buffalo, and they beat Chicago on Thursday last week when Bedard got a 10-minute misconduct. Other than that, it's a lot of red, and I'll be going in again a couple of weeks when the Rangers come to town. So that'll be the one last time of the season for me to watch.
There'll be less weight for the Sharks. Sometimes you get eliminated, then you're like, oh, yeah, even if we won every game, we can't make it. Now you can just, you know what I mean? Just throw guys out there. This is an interview for some of those guys on those teams, right? The young guys, some of the veterans who need contracts next year. Like, we're not worried about the Will Smiths and the Macklin Celebrinis. So like their jobs are fine. Just go out there now and just play hockey. Like, run it to the ground. Who cares? You got nothing else to lose. We've seen this so many times. Teams get eliminated. All of a sudden, they get a boost of energy, and you're like, "Why tank? Finish last." Sharks been doing that for the last couple of months. Keep going. So yeah, I just want nothing to do with this game. It is a 10:30 game on the East Coast, so that means that I can flip back and forth between that game and the Boston and Knights, because that one is at 10. Thank you, NHL, for giving me some hockey to watch at every given moment while I pass out.
And they do need to do more staggered starts. They need to do a better job and I understand it's not good for the
NHL. The NHL dropped a 14-game slate on opening night of March Madness. Like, the NHL can't market themselves even if they tried.
No, and that's the other thing too. It's like, and I understand you can only avoid so much, and it's tough at this time of the year. Speaking of college basketball, I may have a decision to make next Saturday, because if St. John's makes it through to the Elite Eight, they're playing at the Chase Center in San Francisco the same night as the Rangers are playing the Sharks. I'm gonna have a decision to make there. Yeah, we'll see. Well, ticket prices may dictate that as well. Before we get out of here, quick update on the playoffs here in our league. We did the live draft last summer, and now the two of the guys sitting right here. We're taking it easy this week, as you can see. Our favorite 3-word there, by a 3-letter word, by first round of the playoffs. We got Chris Wassel going against Ant Rivera's brother, and then we've got two of the more savvy players that hung out with us during Maki season last year, Craig the Silver Fox and Gene. So one of those two are going to get to the next round to face Chris or I, and then Chris Wassel, me and him had an epic matchup in the FSGA league about 2-3 weeks ago. So I don't know if I want to see him in the next round. I might be rooting for Anthony's brother here.
Yeah, one of us finished top of the league. I'll let you guys figure out which one that was, but obviously it was me. But again, guys who tuned in to the mock drafts that we did all summer, paying off here. Put your homework in. Good for Silver Fox there. I feel bad for Gene, man, because Kaprizov just hasn't been able to come back. Homie's team is banged up here. You win 149 games. He had almost as many as you, and right, same amount of wins. You just had more ties, which is key there. And that could have been you. That could have been you against Silver Fox, and it's not. So that's a tough matchup there. That means if Silver Fox wins, I probably get that matchup. I don't think Yahoo does the reseeding here either. So that's one that I'm not looking forward to, but it is, what I mean? It is what it is. I'll take it. But I know Silver Fox pays attention to the waiver wire and stuff like that, because I see his name there's quite a bit. His adds and drops have been up there. So homie's been working the wire, and I need to make sure that I'm not getting absolutely twisted.
Playoff reseeding is on.
Okay. League. I hope I don't. I hope they reseed me away from it if possible. Not that Jersey roll and Jersey pizza and pork rolls, bros and Farajo is not a good team. I'm just saying I don't want to run into a hot team at the end of the year. You know what I mean? I'm just give me the easy matchup. Give me whatever team has to play, the winner of the Central Division. I am the winner of the Central Division. All right, there's no question about it. Give me the Canucks. Give me the Flames. Give me that. That's all I'm saying.
I think it would be poetic justice if Kaprizov came back this week somehow, boosted Gene's team to a victory, then beats me in the second round, and then beats you in the. That would be, that would just be the ultimate bow tie on the season. But I don't know if that's going to happen here. It looks like Craig's going to advance to the second round and I'll get the winner between
still lots
Frank
of hockey
and
left.
Chris.
14 game slate tonight. Big Saturdays coming around. I'm not ruling out Gene just yet.
Anything
But
can
this is, I mean, gee, I will say this though. Like I did try to acquire Kirill Kaprizov. Sometimes in fantasy, the best deals you make are the ones that never pan out. So
there you go.
Worked out for me.
Now, what do we got coming up on this week's Slapshot podcast?
We are going to be talking about the most hated Russian man right now, and I'm not talking about Vladimir. That's it. We're talking about SK St. Petersburg. We're talking about their coach. We're going to talk about how, if I have to get a private jet and go get Ivan Demidov, I will. I need fake ID, fake visa, fake passport, whatnot. I don't care if the Kremlin's there. We are leaving with Demidov. We're bringing him home because what is happening there? If you have no idea what's going on, you should probably tune in. But I'm just like, it's just chaos. The KHL and St. Petersburg's chaos. Somebody save this kid.
Find out more on Slapshot podcast coming up here. Tomorrow or Saturday?
Tomorrow, I am away. We are celebrating. Milo's birthday is on the 25th. So we're celebrating that this weekend with the fam. I do celebrate the birthday of my dog because I don't have children, and that's what dog dads do.
I mean, that's what any good dog parent, cat parent does, even if they have human kids. I mean, I know all my pets' birthdays, no problem. Rip and Riff, we're going to be coming at you tomorrow this week instead of Monday. Jared was on a poker retreat this past weekend, so cannot go Monday. So we will be dropping a new episode tomorrow. That should be fun. Looking forward to that. But that does it for this edition of Total Hockey Now. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, we are all over YouTube. We are all over Twitter. Give us a follow there at Total Hockey Now. But for at Fuzzy Chris 91, I am at Pucking Thoughts Adam Bernard. Back at you next Thursday. We're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. More of that fun stuff to talk about. Plus fantasy hockey playoffs next week. We'll have that breakdown for you on the next edition of Total Hockey Now.